starts round about in 2005. I was just a normal guy living a normal life. You know, I had a wife, 4 kids. We lived out at Forest Lake in our house, and you know, like things were going along, and slowly they were sort of deteriorating in our lives. My wife, she had a bit of a drinking problem, and some days would end up quite bad. And I'd asked the mother to come over a couple of times when she was like on the floor and swearing and wouldn't be able to get up. And so my mother came and tried to do some counselling, and finally the wife, she got into some structured counselling. You know, it was I can't exactly remember what the name was. So she was getting counselling maybe about once every fortnight and all that, but still the problem was deteriorating. And during that time, so around December 2005, I found out I'd got cancer. And it was, I remember it now, it was quite daunting because, you know, I was by myself, you know, through all the biopsy and that, and I had to go back and get the results. And I'm in a room and there's 5 people, 2 are like top surgeons, and saying, yeah, you've got cancer, we need to operate as soon as possible. And it was a big kind of hit. But as I was walking back to the car by myself, I just got this voice to say, you know, like, it's not your children, it's you. And I just felt instantly, straight away, I thought, yeah, it could be far worse, it could be one of my children. So I dealt with that, and that was all okay. And as I went in to get surgery, Carmen from another church, like I'd never met her before, but she rocked up at the hospital and said, can I pray for you? And being a non-Christian, it was quite confronting, and I said, oh, okay. And so it was quite natural, and yeah, so that was my first real introduction to Carmen and the church. And so yeah, she prayed for me, and it didn't affect me spiritually at all in any way. And so I had the operation, and like 10 days later I was back out jogging, so it wasn't a big thing. And they'd found cancer in the thyroid, both sides, so they removed a whole lot. And during that time, the wife was sort of deteriorated to a point where I had my parents stay at the house while I was in hospital with my wife, because just to look after the kids, to make sure everything was okay. And then I got home. I think that might have been a catalyst for a lot of things. And Tara had always threatened to leave and take the children. And I'd never worried about it, because I thought, well, the children know the truth. You know, like no matter what she says, it's you know, the children have got the, you know, they were there the whole time. But I went back to work in January, and that was 2006. And while I was at work, Tara left, took the children, and that was it. I wasn't allowed to see him, wasn't allowed to talk to him. And of course I went over because she's staying at her parents, and I thought, you know, I'll see these kids. And but no, and she was very aggressive about it, and so were the parents. And so I was very down. I mean, the kids were my entire life, and I just didn't know what to do. But finally I got some advice. I went and saw a lawyer, and he said, look, yeah, I'll take on your case. And he said, look, you better check the local courts. And I said, but I hadn't received anything. And then I found out that Tara had put AVOs or DVOs, domestic violence orders, against me in a local court, and said, don't, you know, he won't appear up, so we don't know where he's living, even though I was living in the house. So, you know, we were always there, and she'd left. And so that sort of all went. So I found out that on the day that it was being, I don't know, like on the day in court, I only found out about it. So I rushed down there, and it was terrible. That was probably one of the worst days of my life. The local court, when I got there was affidavits from Tara and from all of her family except for one, so 6 other affidavits as well as her, and saying that I was violent against her, that I was an alcoholic, I was violent against the children, and the ruling was that I wasn't allowed to see my children, wasn't allowed within 500 metres of them, I wasn't allowed to talk to mutual friends about them, wasn't allowed to call them, and I was a completely shattered man, because none of this was true. And but the court all instantly just thought that's true. And so I went to see the solicitor, and he said, look, you'll see your kids again, don't worry. And it might be you see them once a month in a contact centre, but you'll see the kids, because they even let murderers see their children, you know. So and I went home, and I was just absolutely shattered. Like I was just I had nothing. I had really bad thoughts, like you know, dark thoughts, as you can imagine, because you know, like, it's not a good place. And even the solicitor saying that wasn't anything to look forward to, you know. And probably my darkest hour, all of a sudden, in just one instant, I knew that God knew the truth, and He cared, and that He wanted the children with me. And for the first time, I felt hope in my life. And I instantly called Carly because she was a part-time pastor then. She used to go every second week as a pastor. And then she got a Bible to me the next day, and I started praying and I started reading the Word, and I had to stood on it. And I had to hold on so tight because I was in such a bad place. And as things went on, we went back to court, and I lost the house then as well, and so I had to move out of the house. And one of my mates took me in, which was quite luckily he lived over at Mount Gravatt, and so I was just living in a spare bedroom of his with basically clothes and what I could take with me, while Tara was going in the house and progressively stripping it of everything of value, so like taking everything. And as I was sort of reading the Word, I sort of started with the New Testament, and I got up to I think it was Romans, and it was quite interesting then because you've got to obey the laws of man. And I thought, well, God wouldn't mind that I have a token now and then, because when I came to him, I was just had a token, But then I realised, no, the Word is true, so I had to stop that, and I stopped that immediately. And that was after doing it best part of maybe 20 years every day. Well, I stopped it immediately, haven't even thought about it since. So it's just the Word working in you of what it does to you. Anyway, as things went on, I was holding on to God, and I was holding on really tight, and things were looking worse and worse, and it was costing an absolute fortune. Like, I knew that I would have no assets after the court date, and finally, after a long time, we got into federal court. But Mum, Carly and Honey, they went outside and they made a prayer circle, and they said, the heart of the judge is in your hand, Lord, and they just prayed and prayed and prayed. And I was in there, and the federal judge, I've got to say, it was absolutely fantastic. And you could just see, I could see God working through him. And so he said, right, well, you can have the house back as of tomorrow. As of tomorrow, you can see your kids every weekend, unrestricted. So you have them, this is where you pick them up, and he set down the rules. And then when Tara had them, she had to be under the supervision of her parents, and that was his rules. And then we had federal court orders. So I was at the point there, she wanted to get the police because she had local court orders, so I couldn't be within 500 metres of them. But federal court overrules it, so as long as I kept those orders on me at all times, I was safe. And I've got to say, I've never probably prayed as much since that day that I saw my kids. Was the absolute best day of my life. I suddenly had my kids again, and it had been so long, and I was so tearful and just thankful, and it was just such a good feeling to have them again. And I remember Amber, my youngest, she was only 2, and I got her in the car, and she didn't sort of say anything, and all the other kids, they're a bit older, they were fine, and so I take her to home, and she hasn't been there for a while, and she's looking around, and then she just looked at me and she said, "My daddy," and she just clung to my leg, and for the next 2 hours, she was just on my leg, and it was really just so touching, and I was just overwhelmed in more or less every way. It was just a really nice thing. And then it was just God did that, and I was just blessed beyond measure. Having your kids back. What happened with Nicholas? He rang me up one night unexpectedly, and he just said, "Look, Dad, this has happened." And all I heard is screaming in the background, "Don't tell your dad! Don't you dare tell your dad!" Anyway, what had happened is Tara had picked Nicholas up from school and gone into a local shopping centre and taken a lot of prescription antidepressants on top of alcohol, and just in front of him, and said, I want to die, and passed out. And Nicholas, at the time, I think was 4 or 5. He must have been 5, just 5. So he got out of the car and walked into a shopping centre and got the storekeeper, and the storekeeper had gone out, called the ambulance, and they'd taken her to the hospital. And the storekeeper was fantastic. He said, "Nicholas, you can have whatever you want. The whole store is yours. You just eat whatever you want." And and so he was rapt, obviously quite scared. And now that was very, very confronting to me. And from that point on, I thought, no, I'm taking these kids. I don't care what the court says. I don't care what everything. I'm taking them. I'm having them 100% of the time. And I'd run out of complete money, and I went to the banks, and the bank said, "Look, you've got no assets, and that's it. You can't borrow any more money," because I can't remember what I borrowed, probably about 15,000, and I'd already lost the house and all my super and all that, so I just had no money. So I had to go and do my own court stuff, and I'm no solicitor or lawyer, and it's very, very technical. And so I thought, well, I told the court, look, I've taken the kids full time, and this is why. And I wrote my affidavits out, and when I had to do subpoenas, clear, and the judge looked at it and said, yes, okay, I agree, you can have them full time, and Tara can have a contact centre arrangement, or someone that you both mutually trust. And so I was just, I had joy, this was a fantastic outcome. So that was great. So I took the kids full time. I had them already, and it wasn't a big change. Parents and Tara turned up to school to try and take them from the school, but the school knew about the problem. They'd seen all the orders from the federal court and all that, so they got in contact with me, so I came there and physically took the children off them, and it was again confronting, but there's no way I'm going to let them go back into that situation. And so I've got them full time. She puts down the parents as contact people, which the federal judge had just said no, but it didn't seem to matter to their counsel. And so I said no, not the parents, and you can get a contact centre, but she never did. So what she would do is she would turn up at our place. We were living at Richlands there in a rental, and just beat the horn until the kids come out. And it absolutely broke my heart, because I loved Tara the whole way through. I just loved her. I couldn't help myself. It's the woman I married. And I couldn't not let the kids see it. And even though it was against everyone's advice from no one said it was a good idea, I thought, I'll stay out there. As long as the kids don't get in the car, I'm happy for her to talk to them. So I just watched her in a distance. I don't want to hear what she said to them. I just to give her that contact. And so she did that a few times, and then finally made a date. But I think what must have been happening is that drinking was sort of progressively getting worse. And the last time she saw her, the next year, so she came out the front and beeped, and the kids there, she gave them all sort of lollies and a couple of toys and all that, and told them that, told them that she loved them, all that. And she died the next day, and it was all, it was just so full on, and I think I was just so happy that I ignored everyone's advice and let her see the children, and they saw their mum in that light, and that was good. And so it was still in the middle of a federal court case, and so I had to go back to court the next day, and I really didn't want to. I just wanted to spend the time with kids. I did not want to leave, but you can't ignore federal court, otherwise you go to jail. So I went to the federal court, and the judge just ruled they're 100% mine. And so he put that in paper, right? It says there's no chance of anyone getting on while I'm alive. They're my children, and they're with me. And so I have God to thank for that, and I thank Him every day. Now I've lost a lot of material things, like everything. It's now 5 years on, and I'm still sort of paying back the debt. I mean, it's fully manageable now. I think it's under $1,000, so that's all fine. But it really sorted out for me what's important in life, and it's about relationships. It's it's not about material things. And God has just took me out of a place of fully despair to have that hope, and then not only that, to have that hope realised. And now the kids are in a fantastic place. We've really grown together. We've really bonded as a family, and and that's my story.